Now as I sit here in my palatial estate, in my beautiful mansion, getting ready to have a little bit of the bubbly, I'm just imagining what I would do to that son of a bitch if he was here right now.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of PTW. That's Poor Taste Wrestling. I am JJ Jaw Van Dam Travers. I'm joined tonight, as always, by my two co-hosts, Mike the Wolverine Purcell and Pat the Hardcore Kid Ross. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be talking All Out results, some stuff from NXT UK, a lot of drama with AEW's new World Heavyweight Champion, and some surprises from the women's division in WWE. But before we start going down the list, I just need to start and jump right into this before we get off track with Walter and Tyler Bate. Pat, I know you watched this match. Mike, did you watch it?
I did, yeah. I watched it earlier today.
It was just incredible. Like, this was definitely my match of the year so far, I think.
Yeah, going into it, you know, I had I would say high expectations because of how amazing Tyler Bate has been. And I think the last time I saw Walter wrestle was against Pete Dunne when he beat him for the title, which was awesome. So I thought it would be a really good match. I didn't think it would be one of the best matches I've probably ever seen.
Yeah, it was just one of those matches it was done, and then I looked up and I was like, holy shit, that was a 45-minute match. Like,
that was very long.
But it didn't feel long at all.
No, it's
because
true.
I was so invested. There were so many false finishes, and I know that's like a point of contention that people just like. A lot of matches these days just kind of have a ton of false finishes and hope that means people think it's a good match. But in this match, like, they made total sense. Like, there was just nonstop, like, the spots that they were doing were just insane. Like, at one point, Walter does like a pretty much like a Tazplex, like a Taz mission flip over suplex.
Yeah. On
the ring apron. Like, it was just like,
yeah, it was a sleeper plex. That's what they called it.
Yeah. It's just like, and then they did the exploder suplex off the top rope, just like a burning hammer from Tyler Bate to Walter, which, like, you would think it would like have to be the other way around. He lives up to his name, man. He is one big strong boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tyler Bate is ridiculously strong.
It's funny because, like, after the first time he picked Walter up and just gave him like a regular body slam, I was like, Nicole came over to the living room like a couple of times being like, is everything okay in there? Like, there's a lot of shouting. And I was slacking Pat, being like, I'm in my living room, like, screaming to myself. I just feel like I felt I had points where I like kind of snapped out of it and realized that my jaw was still wide open and I was still just like in total shock. Every time that he picked him up, it still like blew my mind how strong he was. And that sunset flip off the, like, out of nowhere, like, Walter and Tyler Bate did a sunset flip and Walter was the one getting flipped. Like, how fucked is that?
Yeah, like, so many of the spots you would think would have to be the other way around, but
yeah,
just like Tyler Bate is just like freakishly strong. I would bet money that his quads are bigger than Brock Lesnar's.
Well, I don't know if that's saying much because Brock Lesnar doesn't exactly do leg day, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
I will say, like, I'm in agreement with the false finish thing. Like, I hate how much WWE does the false finishes, but in this instance where, like, Tyler Bate didn't seem like he had any chance of winning, there were a couple moments there where, like, I and the audience obviously really thought that he was going to pull out a win. And I forget what his finisher was, but I know he hit it at one point. And like, everybody was just like, all right, that's it. That's done. Like, he's hitting the 3. And then when he kicked out, like, it was like, I don't know. It was like people couldn't believe it. But then you realize, like, oh, no, Walter is just a gigantic beast. Of course he's going to kick out.
Yeah, they were, like, very logical, like, even though, like you said, it's like people's finishers, like, and that's another thing, like, just even the fact that Bate hit the Tyler Driver 97 on fucking Walter, who's like twice his size.
Yeah,
it should not be able to be a thing that happens, but it was a thing that happens. But I feel like in this match, the false finishes helped tell the story.
Yeah.
Like, it felt very appropriate for what was happening. And just watching Tyler Bate bridge out of like being flat on his back with Walter on top of him. Yeah, it just blew my mind. The dude must have like the best core in wrestling to be able to pull something like that off. Like I could not believe how many times he did that. And then I forget what Walter did to him exactly. I think he powerbombed him into the corner, and then he did the top rope splash that he beat Dunn with. And after Tyler kicked out at 2, he then did a nip up. Like, what?
I know. Yeah. And I love that he just ultimately won with a nasty clothesline.
Somewhere JBL was like toasting him.
They mentioned JBL in that match too, right?
No, they mentioned Stan Hansen, I believe. Yeah, they said Stan Hansen would have been proud of that. The commentary was also top notch for this match. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean Nigel is so good, and Vic Joseph doesn't get enough credit. He's the other guy. He does 205 Live with Nigel too every week, and they're a really good team.
It was really cool listening to Nigel because like I feel like I was getting more excited because of how excited he was, and like I could kind of hear the pride from him for like British wrestling, because there's no chance in hell this match isn't in the either going to win or be like the runner-up for match of the year. And it's like you don't see that a lot with NXT UK stuff. Like it just doesn't make headlines, and people wouldn't shut up about this match. And I was like, all right, I'm going to watch it. And like you said, Pat, like I looked up and I was like, that's it? Like it's over? It's already been 45 minutes?
Yeah, I'm going to try to make a point to start watching NXT UK because they're like the 2 takeovers so far have just both been incredible.
Yeah, it sucks because there's NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and AEW. And I'm already having trouble juggling that. So, watching TakeOver Cardiff, I was like, I need to start watching this weekly. And then I was like, but when? Like, when am I going to get
when
the
do you
time?
even fit that in?
Can't all just work from home like me and just have wrestling on 24/7.
Yeah, lucky bastard. But before we move on from the match, I think my favorite part, like my absolute favorite part, was when this was probably like 43 minutes into the match. I forget what Walter did to him. I think he powerbombed him off the top or something ridiculous like that. And then Bate did a kick out at 1.
No, it was a power bomb, not off the top, but it was just like a sick power bomb. And then that was right before he hit the lariat for the win.
Yeah, it was like his last burst of adrenaline, and Walter's face, like he had his hands out, just like what the fuck.
Yeah,
you
it
could
was awesome.
see him mouthing it, and the whole crowd was just like, "How is this possible?" It was so cool. It was such an awesome moment, even though he lost. And I really liked how Trent Seven and Pete Dunne came out after too.
Yeah, and there was a lot of potential for like shenanigans during this match, and I'm really glad they shied away from that because both of them are in a stable between Mustache Mountain or British Strong Style, and Walter is the leader of Imperium. So I'm really glad that there was no interference, no even appearances from anyone else until the end of the match.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I just said to myself, that is a perfect match. Like, you don't see it often, but I feel like when you see it, you know it, and that was a perfect match.
And this was Saturday that this all went down, correct?
Yep.
Yeah,
because that was like Saturday during the day before the AEW.
At like 11 a.m. it started or something.
And then
2 p.m.
So, not that it like really matters, but did Meltzer come out with a rating for this match?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm curious just to see how he. I'm sure he'll give it like 4.9 and Kenny Omega go to 5 from.
Well, old JVD is giving it 5 stars,
and that's the only rating that matters.
You're goddamn right. One more thing with NXT UK before we move on, the tag match. I watched that on Pat's recommendation, and man, that was so good.
That was another great match. It was just like I mean, since I don't really watch the show, like I know who Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan are. I like Mark Andrews. Flash Morgan doesn't do a lot for me. He's like some weird Austin Powers looking motherfucker. But
yeah, I was like, who is this guy?
That sounds
awesome. End of the match, I was totally in his corner.
Yeah, and like it was just one of those things where a couple times you thought for sure the match was over, and then they somehow pulled it out, and it was awesome, and the crowd went crazy.
Yeah, they're hometown heroes. When the grizzled young vets pulled Andrews pulled the referee out of the ring when Andrews was doing the pin, I was like, oh, they're going to screw him out of it. They're not going to get the titles. And then they still pulled it off. It's because they're both Welsh, and that's where they are. And Nigel McGuinness was saying they're the first Welsh champions ever for Welsh wrestling in WWE.
Wow.
Which is pretty goddamn cool. Yeah, that place went nuts, which just made it even better.
There's enough history and there's enough brands now where there aren't too many firsts left to accomplish. So it's pretty cool that they're able to do that.
Yeah, I didn't know Joe Coffey, his brother, was a tag team wrestler in NXT UK.
I didn't either.
Did you see his last man standing match with
I did.
It's Joe Mastiff, right?
Dave Mastiff.
Dave Mastiff, yeah. That was also really good.
That was good too. Did you see Cesaro's match?
I want to watch that one
it's
so bad.
It's I was cooking dinner and I finished the tag and the last man standing, and I have to get to Cesaro. I'm probably gonna watch it after the podcast tonight, honestly.
Yeah, that match was awesome. That was the second match on the card. The first one was okay. Noam Dar versus Travis Banks. That was fine. But then Cesaro came out. He teased on social media that he was going to do an open challenge, and this dude Dragunov responded. I had never seen anything about him. I guess he's Russian. I guess he's appeared in Progress before, but he's a lot smaller than Cesaro. But they just had like a very, very damn good match, and it just made me so sad that Cesaro doesn't get these kinds of opportunities on Raw.
What's kind of cool about his name is that is an actual sniper rifle.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. But how cool was it? Like 2 minutes into the last man standing match when the turnbuckle broke.
Yeah, that was sick.
And he was just beating Joe Coffey with the broken turnbuckle with the rope still attached to it. I loved that.
I feel like Mastiff had some hardcore match variant at the last takeover, and they're usually pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, he made a fan out of me. Both of those guys did. And I really liked how when he was just like, they were outside of the ring area, and he was marching towards Coffey with a chair in each hand, and he just laughed hysterically and then threw Coffey a chair. I was just like, this guy's a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I fucking love it.
Yeah, really the only disappointment for UK TakeOver, shockingly, was the Women's Championship match.
Oh, yeah, I heard that was not that great.
Yeah, and I was looking forward to it because I love Toni Storm, and they played a promo package beforehand for the match, just kind of showing the storyline. And it's funny.
Yeah, they have a lot of history, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I always just watch everything. So like at pay-per-views, the promo packages, I mean, while cool and like well done, are kind of lost on me. But I was really like appreciative this time because I wanted to catch up with the story. And they made it like super personal. They like Kaylee Ray, like they've been friends for like a very long time, and she brings up like Toni Storm's dad like fucking leaving her when she was like 5 years old.
Wow.
And all this stuff. Yeah, it was like pretty personal. But then the match, I just felt like it didn't really deliver.
I wonder if they clear that stuff ahead of time with each other, or they just are like, you know what, I'm just gonna fucking go real personal tonight.
I'm sure.
I mean, they've been friends for what, like 10 or 15 years, so I'm sure it was okay. All right. But yeah, NXT UK, I'm going to try somehow to find time for it because goddamn did they impress me, and I still got a couple of matches to go in and watch.
Yeah, bravo to NXT UK. It was Saturday was a full day for pro wrestling. I pretty much watched this and then went straight into All Out.
It's a good day right there.
So we had, what do we have, like 7 people at my place for All Out? 8?
Yeah, it was a packed house.
Yeah, it was great. So are you guys ready for some bubbly?
Yep, I'm at my palatial estate and I'm ready to pop open some bubbly.
So I don't even know how to go into this because there's just so many good things to talk about here. I guess we'll start with how we got to bubbly. So we're just going to start with the biggest match from All Out. Well, the most important match. and that is the AEW World Championship match, which I just want to say right off the bat before we start digging into the results that this match was much, much better than I was expecting it to be. I don't give Adam Page a lot of credit. I don't think I've been too shy about that.
I don't know if you've given him really
he's a
any
bad
credit.
wrestler. What'd you say?
I said I don't know if you've really given him any credit.
Well, I've said before that I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's on the level of like being a top guy. I don't think he's ready yet. But I feel like he definitely surpassed my expectations here and put on a really good match with Jericho. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I was very happy with it overall. I mean, him coming out on that horse sold me even more for him. I get it. Like I see why people aren't like super sold on him. You know, I think he's got a good look, and I think if they keep like grooming him to be a top star, like he'll get there eventually. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to throw the title on him right now. And Chris Jericho is the obvious choice. But yeah, I think he's got a lot of upside to him in the long run.
Yeah, I'm just glad that he came out on the horse. That was my favorite part.
That's like really
most important part.
Yeah. It's all about the
wrestling
entrances.
without context.
Yeah, I don't know if has anybody ever done that before.
I mean, I don't know. Shawn Michaels has dropped like from the sky on a zip line, and Undertaker, there's been ambulances and fire trucks and a tank, so I don't think the horse is that big of a deal personally.
Yeah.
Sorry, wrestling fans. I know that's like sacrilege.
I feel like the Mountie had to have come out on the
Oh,
horse
you might
by
be
one
right.
point. But yeah, I thought the match was good. I kind of feel the same way about this match as I do for the entire card, and that's it was good, but I might have hyped it up a little bit too much in my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was, yeah. I feel like that's kind of been AEW overall up to this point. Like, yeah, I still have a lot of high hopes for them, and I still think what they're doing in general is, you know, it's a few notches above, like, what WWE is doing overall. But, yeah, I wanted so much. There was, like, just something more that I wanted out of this pay-per-view that I didn't feel like we got. And maybe it was this match right here with Chris Jericho and Adam Page, while good, wasn't, like, phenomenal, you know.
Well, I think a component to this that a lot of people aren't thinking about is WWE has years of history and story with their characters. They don't always do a great job of telling those stories, but when it clicks, it clicks. And a big part of that, like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and Kofi, is the history. And that doesn't exist for AEW yet. So I don't think people think about that when they're looking at these matches. They're just thinking like, oh, this is going to be a sick match. But like a big component to these like all-time great storylines and matches is the history that goes into them. And AEW is going to have to just like, there's no fast tracking that. You're just going to get there when you get there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And for those reasons, because they don't really have too much history to draw on for lack of a better term, the AEW originals like Hangman Page, it makes sense that they went with a guy like Jericho to walk away with the title, the first ever championship reign, just like I'm pretty sure we all predicted, or at least I did.
Yeah, I was definitely Jericho.
I think we all did. I think that was unanimous.
The Judas effect, man, that's gotta go. It's so like it's like anticlimactic.
Did you notice on SmackDown that 2 people pulled out the Judas effect?
Who did?
Black and who else? It was a heel was the other one. It was like a quick thing. Like they both did like the spinning elbow, and like it was like a nothing, you know, thing, but I almost feel like it was like a little bit of a jab towards Chris Jericho and his finisher, just having them do it. Because like when does it was Andrade. He like it was like before he did something, he like went into a big move but did the spinning elbow first and then did the move. But like I don't know, it's just like when do they ever do that, a spinning elbow, and they do it twice in one night?
I didn't even notice that.
I did notice that Corey Graves made a snide remark about Jericho losing the title.
Yeah, getting in a limo and driving to a chain restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that is the most like But before we get into it, I just want to say, because I still want to talk about Judas and the match a little bit, but that is the most Jericho thing ever.
Yeah, the sentence, like the belt was stolen from the victim's limousine as he dined inside Longhorn Steakhouse is the most Chris Jericho sentence possible.
Just amazing. But I think the Judas effect is fine. I think that part of the problem with it is it's hard to set it up well. I think if he did something like how Okada does the Rainmaker, you know how he pulls them in and spins them out, kind of like you can see that it's happening. If Jericho did something like that to set it up, so you're like, okay, here it comes, but it just happens. It's like, okay, it's over. It just happened. There's no like anticipation or setup, so it kind of takes away the fun from like when you can kind of start to guess when a finisher's coming. So I'm fine with the move. I just think he needs to work on
I
how
was
he
thinking about
presents
this actually the other day. Like I don't know, it might have been like the day after that pay-per-view. I didn't know if maybe it makes more sense for him to like throw an extra spin in there, so there's just a little bit more downtime, and even like before he starts spinning, he can like really like taunt it up or something, you know, like really like bend down with his arm and then just kind of spin, you know, 1.5 times or what it might be, like into that elbow. That might give it a little bit more of a flair before the move actually connects. But then at the same time, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's like it all depends on what Chris Jericho is really going for. Like, does he want it to look like an MMA move that you really don't see? It's just kind of like out of the blue type of thing. I feel like we haven't seen it enough to really like see what the potential of the move can have. Because it's like, I mean, like, I guess the code breaker, you know, it's like probably like a half second longer. But it's that really like falling on the back. There's more movement there for you to comprehend than what you have with the Judas effect.
The Codebreaker is an impact finisher, whereas the Judas effect is a striking finisher. And I mean, striking finishers can work. Like I think Aleister Black's Black Mass is a sick finisher.
I was just gonna say it.
But there's a lot of build up to it, and same with like Big Show's like just punching you in the jaw. Like he like, you know, he holds his fist up, like, you know, it's coming when he goes to do it.
Yeah, and even like Daniel Bryan's running knee, like at least has the running part. Like whereas Jericho, like I almost forget that that's the finish because it just comes out of nowhere. And again,
yeah.
I mean, out of nowhere finishers can work, like the out of nowhere finisher, the RKO. But there's just something about like an out of nowhere striking finisher that just feels like a normal move. And I mean, Jericho like already has two of the most iconic finishes there is with the Codebreaker and the Lion's Hammer. So just use one of those.
He's just got to borrow from Okada a little bit and it'll be fine. But yeah, so Jericho won the match. Like, that was the right choice. I think everyone would agree. But it got even better because after he won, he was just walking through the backstage area, insulting people, being like, Scorpio Sky, you'll never get a shot at this title. 100% true. Really mean. Really funny. What did he say to the librarian?
I don't remember. He was just kind of ranting as he walked down to the champagne.
And then, yes, as he got to the back room, his dressing room, there was champagne, a little bubbly. He was walking people through as he was being like interviewed by just the camera what they got for him. He's like, look at this cheap salami. Look at these olives. There's not even anything in these olives. And then some guy showed up to officially present the title to him that he was already holding. And Jericho shook up some champagne and was just spraying the guy in the face with it. Just the whole thing was like that very distinct douche flavor of Jericho
very
that you
old
love
school
so much. And
Jericho.
I just thought it was, just like overselling the character, but in a way that like would only work for him.
Oh yeah, totally.
And then he fucking lost it.
And gets it fucking stolen.
Yeah, lesson learned: don't go to Longhorn Steakhouse in a limo.
I hope they like keep working this into it. Like, I know it's been found and recovered and returned to him, but I hope they keep just like.
Well, tell folks why you think that. Like,
why I think they'll keep running with it. Yeah. So all right. So just a rundown. So he gets it stolen. He had it in his bags. He gets off the airport, gets in the limo. Gets to Longhorn Steakhouse for why he chose that place of all places, who knows, realizes he has the wrong bag, and then goes back to the airport to get his actual bag, which I guess he got, but the title was already gone. And so, there's some shenanigans. He posts a video of him doing this investigation, trying to, recover the title, figure out what happened to it. Then the police station. I forget what police station.
Tallahassee.
Post a picture of them like
The Tallahassee
them-
police.
One of the officers like holding it up as if he had just like won the championship, and then they delete that and then post that it still hasn't been found. But right before we started recording this podcast, we got a message that said that it has indeed been recovered and returned to Jericho. It was found on the side of the road by the police, or by a fan, I think, and they turned it into the police, and returned it to Jericho. And it turns out that thing's like worth like $30,000.
What a wild ride that story was.
Yeah.
And it like shifted from shoot to work like a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I feel like AEW and Jericho handled this as well as they possibly could have.
Oh, perfectly. Yeah.
Best possible
The
way.
fucking hot tub video was just
At his
Chris Jericho's
palatial
in
estate.
a hot tub wearing his scarf
Wearing a scarf that's
like
just
getting
half
soaked.
in the
He's
water.
Oh, I didn't even notice that tidbit.
He's wearing
That's
the fedora
hilarious.
too, and then he pours himself some
Sunglasses.
bubbly, and then puts the glass down and just drinks from the bottle.
Some bubbly for the Le Champion.
Jericho, I'm like not sure how I feel about Chris Jericho these days, but
It's stuff like that that redeems
I
him.
fucking love him, man. I told you guys, either way, if he's like if he doesn't know how stupid this is, it's still works. It's still
the theory
amazing.
we came up with during All Out was if his character is like, if it's a work that he's not self-aware and he thinks this is all like extremely cool, that's a good character. But if that's a shoot and he really thinks that he's being wicked cool, that's funny as hell. So either way, win-win for us.
Yeah, exactly. So Jericho is the best. Anyone who doesn't agree is dumb. But yeah, if you haven't seen this video of Jericho backstage and Jericho in the podcast, go to aiptcomics.com/wrestling. You'll find it there. We've covered this in depth. It is worth the 3 minutes it'll take you to watch these two videos. It is goddamn hysterical. Do yourself a favor. You need to see it. But yeah, I mean, the inaugural championship belt, 3 days after its first defense, I don't want to say defense, but after the first champion is crowned, it gets stolen. I mean, that right there, you're just saying red flag, awful PR, horrible, they're screwed, couldn't have a worse start right before their TV. And now it's turned into something that people absolutely love. That is just, damn it, I don't know, impressive, lucky. Is Chris Jericho an idiot savant?
That's just one of those things that's like only pro wrestling could pull this off. It a real life circumstance just made this story that much better, and it makes the hype going into the first week of AEW on TNT that much better. And it's just one of those things that, now that it turned out well, it's just it's a really interesting footnote in the history of the title. In 15 years there'll be a post on Squared Circle that's TIL, the AEW championship was stolen 2 days after it was first crowned.
Yeah, we're seeing wrestling history, and this will be a legend within the wrestling community for all time. The first AEW champion lost the title at a Longhorn Steakhouse.
Oh, so good. I forget who it was. I think it was Sean Sapp or one of the wrestling journalists was if he was eating at a Cracker Barrel like a company guy, this wouldn't have happened.
Oh, all right. I'm really glad you said that. So for those of you who may not know, Cracker Barrel and AEW have a hilarious sponsorship for some reason that I still don't know that I fully understand. But my favorite match on the card was the Cracker Barrel clash between Jimmy Havoc, Darby Allin, and Joey Janela, in which Jimmy Havoc won, which was the last person I thought would win that match. But I was fine with it. They did exactly what I thought they would, and I loved every second of it, and that was they beat the fucking shit out of each other.
There was some brutal stuff
Yeah,
there.
it was pretty disgusting.
There was some very behind the curtain stuff going on too. There were some moments where I'm I don't know, it was kind of a little too revealing of how wrestling works.
Like what?
Well, what do you mean
Oh,
by that?
I don't just like Jimmy Havoc, like quote unquote stapling himself, and then there was another big spot that was like very it was something that Jimmy Havoc
The paper cut spots.
The paper cut spots. That was very obvious.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even watch that part. It made me too
I think
squeamish.
that's probably
I
what
can
they're
see
hoping
someone
people were gonna
pour
do.
blood, but the paper cut was too much.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Paper cut is like the worst possible thing that can happen to you. But I feel like those pieces of paper were like pretty obviously laminated, right? Something was off about those.
Were they really? I did not notice.
And even
that.
then, like, yeah, I'm kind of with Mike that like those are just like so easy to fake. I don't know. I don't know.
I just feel like that's part of the show, though. Like that's part of the fun.
Yeah, it's just like a goofy hardcore match, and like that's fine. Like those are some of the most memorable matches. Are just like these kind of nonsense matches, and like when Jimmy
like
Havoc
the Vince and Shane against like Degeneration X in that cell. Like there's just like that match is just so ridiculous, and it's just like so unbelievably bloody, but like so much of it is just like so obviously not real.
Yeah. And like when Jimmy Havoc had like a bunch of thumbtacks in his mouth and it got like taped shut.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any faking how uncomfortable that has to be.
Oh no, that is uncomfortable.
And what about
the skateboard spot?
I'm sorry, did you say skateboard?
Yeah.
Yeah. God. So Darby Allin has a skateboard and the bottom of it is just covered in thumbtacks. And I think Joey Janela took it, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
I've seen him bust that spot out on the Indies a couple of times. I think this was his first time in AEW, and it's just
it was because I've seen all his matches in AEW, and I've never seen him do it before. I mean I pieced together pretty quickly what was going to happen, but it was still so disgusting and awesome to watch. He just got on the top rope and basically like ollied onto the person, onto Joey's back.
Yeah.
And you could see thumbtacks stuck in his back and just like shreds. Oh.
Yeah, just immediately he just starts bleeding from like 15 different spots on his back. Yeah, that's the kind of reaction though, like ugh. Like,
yeah.
I feel like
like spots like that are great.
It's great, but I don't know, like comparing this show to NXT UK TakeOver, where sure there was like a last man standing match, but there weren't any like there wasn't any blood. I mean, obviously, or at least like juicing or anything like that. And like I feel like the matches there were great quality with
more sophisticated. Is that what you're trying to say?
Like without resorting to just like like I wish I didn't see that, or like I'm like squirming in my seat right now. And to AEW's credit, they did tone that down a lot. I feel like the last couple of shows had like some seriously disgusting things, between the chair shot to the head, the Cody Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes match where they were just pouring blood. This show was very toned down compared to that, but it was still just hard to watch at times.
I think the most disgusting part of All Out was Cody Rhodes' entrance. That was really hard to watch.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That made me really uncomfortable.
So much about it, just like the Star Trek motif to begin with, was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I thought it was super lame to begin with, and then poor Pharaoh.
I'm not talking about Star Trek. I'm talking about the dog.
Oh yeah, I was getting there. That was just like that started it off, and then it just got worse from there. And then just the awkwardness with the dog, and then just, I don't know, yeah.
I think that he's brought the dog out at other shows, and that's why he assumed it would be fine. But
yeah.
The fireworks.
He has every time, I think, right? He brought it.
It must have been the pyro that just like spooked him, and then he couldn't calm down after that. I just was like, oh, get the poor dog out of there.
It definitely was the pyro. He seemed fine. Then like a huge pyro went off right in his face.
Yeah,
terrible
poor guy. I mean, after what happened in Clearview, and I saw a bunch of people on Twitter really mad about it, there's no way that ever happens again. So that's the one positive here.
Well,
yeah, Brandy looked rip shit.
I think they could still do something similar to that, but they will be aware that like the dog should not be anywhere near the entrance until the fireworks have gone off. And I guess Cody Rhodes even said that something like the ones that were like loud that made the bang were not supposed to go off, but they did.
Yeah.
So I guess theoretically it could have still, like, if that hadn't happened, it probably would have been fine, if that is the truth. But since those did go off, then that's what spooked him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just like don't bring a dog to the wrestling ring. Like let's stick
Yeah, that's
with
the
your
thing. It's like if he
smoking
just
hot
starts
wife.
biting somebody, like, you can't really, like, what do you do in that moment? How do you stop him?
Pay him lots of money.
No, I'm talking about the dog.
Yeah, I mean after.
Oh, you mean the person? Pay them
Yeah.
lots of money. Yeah.
But yeah, we got to see Arn Anderson not in the role I expected. That whole thing was done very oddly when
Very
Tully
poorly
Blanchard
booked.
was just like, well, I guess I'm going to go out back and just relax for a little while and sit down and have a beer.
I know. Yeah, like I feel like that was very convoluted, and it could have made a lot more sense if Arn just came out during the entrance. They didn't have to have all of this. Like I feel like this was just a way to get MJF on the card somehow.
Yeah, that's
you're
a
probably
really
right.
good point.
Because the whole thing was Cody and Sean Spears were each allowed one person to come out to be in their corner. And even though Cody came out with MJF, his wife, his dog, and I think DDP was there too, right?
Yeah, it's not your mama's yoga.
They all went back to the back except for MJF, who then later went to the back. It was all just very convoluted. But then Arn came out, got the big pop, hit the spine buster, which still looks great.
He did not look great, but
No,
that spine
he
buster
didn't
did
look
He
great.
has aged.
And I feel like we've seen him on WWE television within the past year, and he looked a lot better. But I don't know. I could see this turning into something where the storyline continues if, like, Sean Spears complains, like, oh, like, you were only supposed to have one person and you chose MJF, so Arn coming out invalidates the match, or, like, something like that. If they turn it into the story, that would be kind of cool.
It would be kind of weird for them not to continue the story, right? Like, the only thing that happened prior to this was a chair shot to the head. One match is going to solve this, like, best friends of 15 years, like, hating each other feud. Like, I feel like that would be really odd.
I guess the only downside would be that Cody has to continue to feud with Sean Spears.
I mean,
what did you guys feel like the package of Sean Spears that night? Do you feel like he presented himself well enough that he's proving that he deserves to be one of the first people hired for AEW?
I mean, so there's a couple of things. One, I thought his entrance was fine. Like, I thought
I didn't mind the entrance. Yeah,
I actually thought the entrance was the worst part. He looks like a
Really?
fucking loser.
If he just got rid of the contacts, I feel like
the
it would
contacts
be-
were the
And just like shambling down to the ring with the hood up so you can't even see his face until he got to the ring. Like that, it just didn't work for me.
I mean, Cody used to do that with his hood. I mean, I don't see it as a big deal. That was like the least of my problems. The contacts that you see the whole rest of the match looks stupid, so ditch those. But I mean, as much as we joke about Sean Spears, like, AEW doesn't have a roster the size of like what a lot of these other companies have. Like, they got to try and build some stars here. So I think, like, am I impressed by Sean Spears? No. The match was fine. It wasn't like I was like, oh man, what a piece of shit. I thought it was produced really weird. Like, I think if they had just changed up the Tully and the Arn thing, it would have gone a lot better. Like, there were some cool spots. It wasn't like bad wrestling. It's just there's a lot of little things here that I feel like could change. And, like, I'm not going to write Spears off right away. I don't think he's going to ever be a top heel, but he could be like a good mid-card guy for them. But they got to invest some time
he's a good
into
hand.
the guy. Exactly. He is a good hand.
I just want to say that when Seth Rollins wears blue contacts, we're like, oh yeah, that's fucking awesome. Seth Rollins wearing blue contacts.
No,
And then Sean Spears
I
does
certainly
it,
did
and-
not think that his weird Nightwalker cosplay was cool.
Yeah. I also
Speak
thought
for
that was
yourself
super,
with that one.
super dumb.
I do think that when the Fiend wears contacts, that's cool, but I feel like that's a whole.
What about
different
when
situation.
Roman Reigns wears blue contacts?
Nope. I
No,
think that's really
also
dumb too.
really stupid. So yeah, except for the Fiend, please don't wear contacts.
Did you say that you weren't impressed by Sean Spears? You do know that Dana listens to this podcast, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna. You gotta toss Dana a bone every once in a while. He's a guest. We gotta keep him coming back.
Okay, well, I'll play your character. I thought it was the match of the night. Sean Spears had a star-making performance. I could see him. Frankly, I think he's going to be next in line for Jericho's title.
Hey, I don't agree with that. You're crazy.
Okay, let me do what I do.
Moving on, 21 woman casino battle royale. This went exactly how I thought it was gonna go. Did you guys think anyone else was gonna win this?
I thought that AJ Lee was going to win when I built up in my own head that she was going to be the Joker.
Right. Yeah, you fantasy booked it. I forgot.
I can't believe you somehow got to that point.
That's what I mean by like it didn't live up to my insanely high expectations, because I had like AJ Lee in the first match, CM Punk in the main event. It didn't quite go that way, but yeah, if there wasn't going to be any crazy surprise, yeah, I think it was pretty obvious that Nyla Rose was going to win, and good on her.
Yeah, I think it like can be a really great thing. Just like whether you're looking at it through like the eyes of like, pushing progress or whatever. But like I think it'll be great as long as they don't try to play into that. Like, like try to use like, we've crowned the first transgender women's champion, which they don't seem to be doing. I don't think they've even mentioned it up to this point.
I have no worry that that's going to happen. I don't think they've even said at all.
Like, I think the only people that are making a deal out of it are people outside of wrestling, like, just like general news.
She's talked about it in her interview, but she's not making her accomplishments about that.
And it shouldn't be. And I think that's what makes it. I think that's what makes it an actual accomplishment. And especially like, where else can you do something like that right now outside of wrestling? Like, that's really the only place. And it's really cool. Just that like we're kind of at that point.
Yeah, and even when she mentions it, like I think you're talking about the Road to All Out video, right?
Yeah, the interview.
She didn't even like. She just was kind of vague about it. She was like, I didn't know how I was going to be accepted, and this came at a really dark time in my life. But, I mean, even then, they're definitely not playing it up for anything.
No, I mean, they don't have to, because when I look at the roster, it's hard to pick many people on the women's roster that the crowd is responding to as much as they're responding to Nyla. Like, I don't think Nyla is this amazing talent.
She's pretty green.
I think she's like, she does a fine job. I enjoy the match, but the crowd is so behind her that's like the special component here. Like, that's a special ingredient. That's what you want to have in your face stars, and that's what she has. So why wouldn't you go with her, regardless, of her sexuality and how she identifies? But I think after Riho defeated Hikaru Shida, like, for me, that pretty much cements that Nyla is going to be the first AEW Women's Champion, because I can't picture a world where Riho wins that match.
I don't know if I would go that far. I really have no idea who was. I mean, like, I think either one of them could come away with the championship. I mean, the only thing that makes me think it might go the other way is I know Kenny Omega is like super. If you listen to Brandy Rhodes on Jericho, she talks about how she's heading up the women's division with Kenny Omega and how he's like really into the Joshi female Japanese wrestlers, and like he's kind of just like spearheading that whole thing because he can speak Japanese. So I could see a world where he's pushing for his Japanese wrestler to, get the title.
Yeah, I could see it too. I mean, in like a shoot competition, of course, Nyla Rose would destroy Riho because Riho's like 95 pounds. But this is wrestling. I mean, Rey Mysterio's beating the Big Show, so yeah. I mean, anything can happen.
If you're looking at it from a business perspective, you've got two ways of looking at it. You have Nyla, who could potentially bring in an audience that's very like forward-looking and progressive, and that would like cheer something like that on. But then at the same time, you also have a huge Japanese audience that might really be drawn to AEW if they have a female Japanese women's champion. So you could really go either way with that. I think even just that match itself is probably pretty big for opening the doors to like a different type of audience.
It is, but I see it more as you got to think about it for your first champion. Like, I think Riho's great. She's like only 22 or 23. Like, she impresses the hell out of me, but I would be very surprised for AEW to pick a small, nondescript Japanese woman who I don't think speaks English for their first champion.
Yeah, and honestly, she has no charisma. So like, if you put that title on her, like she's just gonna stand there and be like, "I'm champion," and that's probably about it. At least if you put it on Nyla, you've got people chasing that title, and she can really, play into the heel factor.
Yeah, and it's just a classic David versus Goliath kind of story. So I could totally see Riho coming away with the win. But either way, it'll be interesting to see which way that it goes.
Yeah, I'm totally in Nyla's corner, and that's my guess. I will be shocked if it goes the other way. I'm not going to complain about it if it does, but that's my prediction. So before we move on, last thing I feel like we should talk about really quick is Pac and Omega. I mean, there's not too much to say because there's no story here, but they just put on a fantastic match. Like, they beat the hell out of each other. I did think Omega was going to lose. I don't think it's going to harm him any, and that's what happened. But the match is still definitely worth watching. I think it was the best match on the card by far.
Really? I don't know. I would say the ladder match was the best.
I was going to say the ladder match.
They
were both very fun to watch, and I think it was good to have Pac in there and like kind of showing what he can do, despite JR's reference to him being kind of new to the business, which was kind of odd. But yeah, he definitely showed why he's a valuable asset to AEW.
I'll retract my by far comment. I think it was the best match, but you guys are right. The ladder match was incredible.
JR legitimately called Pac a dumb bastard at one point. He was kind of all over.
I kind of like that
though.
though. Yeah, it's kind of funny to like read people's reactions to his commentary, because like so many people were defending it and thinking it was awesome, and then like us, which is kind of hard to really judge because we were talking throughout the pay-per-view for the most part, so like we would just catch the stupidest JR moments. But like, I don't know, I feel like there was just so many of them that we just kind of tuned into when he would say them. We're like, man, JR's like really lost it.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to talk about the Hugger?
You break my heart, Bayley.
Yeah, shifting gears to WWE. Why, Bayley? Why?
It's about time, honestly.
That moment was awesome.
If you didn't catch Raw, Bayley seemingly has turned heel. They haven't really like gone full blown with it yet. They're still like dancing around it and being like, is she a bad guy?
I thought they kind of cemented it on SmackDown when she was beating Charlotte with the chair.
Well, Charlotte attacked her though.
I felt the same way as you, JJ, at the beginning with the promo that she cut, but then by the end, yeah, I mean Charlotte attacked her, but she was like gleefully just beating the shit out of Charlotte and like laughing about it with Sasha, who's about as hardline a heel as you can get in the women's division right now.
I don't know. I just feel like she had like a very good excuse for what she did, because Charlotte is a heel who attacked her and has been insulting her and taunting her. So until we see Bayley do something, evil alignment on her own without like a valid excuse like that or being provoked, I think they're still going to technically be dancing around it. Like, I think she's a heel now, but like I think that's how they're going to work this.
I guess her entrance on SmackDown was still very babyface-ish.
Yeah, I was sort of expecting either no music or like new music and no Bayley buddies. But
what do you think about this for an adjustment to her entrance? It's the same thing, but aside from the Bayley buddies, it's just giant middle fingers.
I liked the suggestion. I think I saw it somewhere on the internet that she should have come out and just popped all the Bayley buddies.
Oh, that's good.
I would have loved that.
I'm sure the people they're renting them from probably wouldn't love it though.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as overt as I was expecting, but I mean, maybe that's a good thing. I like this kind of like delusional, like, what do you mean? I'm just being loyal to my best friends kind of character can work really well too, and that is potentially more interesting than just Sasha and Bayley like being copies of each other and being on the exact same page.
Yeah, I mean, I was really initially bummed out when they aligned, but if it's as heels, I'm fine with it. I'm also curious to like, does this mean, because initially for right now they're officially on separate brands, but there's multiple outlets reporting that WWE has a draft planned for mid-October for Raw and SmackDown, which makes sense with USA and SmackDown, obviously. But do you think if they're going this route, that means they're going to end up on the same show and we're going to get a rehash of this, except instead of buddy buddies as faces, it's just going to be as heels?
I really hope not, and I don't want them anywhere near the women's tag team division because, unfortunately, and I wish this wasn't the case, but the women's tag team division is kind of just like a death knell right now. Like, it's just...
That was quick.
Yeah, it's just where you go if you have absolutely nothing else to do, and that's unfortunate. And even people like Asuka, who is probably the best female talent they have, if not like one of the best talents, period, that they have, she can't even get time in the women's tag team division. Like, she can't even get featured in the worst division on the show. It's just like a mess. But yeah, I'm with you, JJ. I really didn't want Bayley and Sasha to continue to be involved in the same storyline because they pretty much have been for the past, 2 years, it feels like.
Yeah, they've been circling around this drain for pretty much since they moved them to the main roster.
And that draft is, theoretically being reported for October. So by then, things could change as far as their character dynamic, and they could,
it's only
by then
a
they could
month
separate
away, dude.
them. Yeah, but by then they could have them separated a bit more.
Yeah, and I mean, Clash of Champions is in a week and a half, so we'll see what happens there. I think it's interesting that the two women's championship matches are both the matches are horsewoman versus horsewoman. Just going back to that well.
I mean, they are pretty much all the best talent they have, and God, Sasha works so much better as a heel. She should really just not be a face. She's just one of those characters. Yeah, she's kind of like Randy Orton. She just works as a heel. There's no reason to have her as a face.
Or like Seth Rollins, incredible heel, terrible face.
Yeah, that's
although he still gets huge pops.
Yes, I mean Sasha did. Sasha got a positive reaction too when she was face, but it's just they don't if they just let her be the boss. But towards bad guys, it would be fine. But WWE just has this tendency when people turn face to just completely strip away their character. And they're just like, hey, everybody, I'm really happy to see you and I'm going to try my best tonight. That's not interesting.
It's to me, it's not about the pop. It's about the body of work. Sure, the general crowd is still going to cheer for them when they come out because everybody likes them. But the quality of what you're getting from them on the mic and in the ring is so much different when they're what they're supposed to be, which is a heel.
Yeah, so the other incredible thing outside of Bayley's heel turn, I feel like Raw was really good this week, and so was SmackDown, but the Firefly Funhouse this week was possibly the greatest one yet, which is quite the compliment.
And it was so short, too.
Yeah, before I saw it and you guys were telling me, what happened, and people were saying, oh, yeah, he shoves, money down Vince's throat, I thought it was, an actual segment where Vince comes out and he, interrupts him and starts shoving money down. So I was like, I can't wait to watch this. It was still amazing.
It was pretty close to that.
Yeah, the cha-ching noises when when he pulls out the money and Vince is
and his eyes turn into dollar signs.
Yeah,
it was so meta and weird because the Vince puppet is what are you doing? They're Seth and Braun are so important to the company. They're such important pieces. You can't challenge them. And then Bray's like, hey, look what I made. And it's just
and the noises he makes,
a bunch of cash. Yeah.
When he's shoving the dollars down his throat,
yeah. So good. And just super, super creepy. Apologizing to Finn and then
see you in hell.
See you in hell. Bye.
Yeah, just see you in hell in this super serious, creepy voice, and then just flipping a switch, Jekyll and Hyde, the big smile and the laugh and the giggle and the wave with all the characters.
He's such a good actor too, just the way that he laughs uncontrollably, it's just
his facial expressions.
Yeah, he can't even stop it. It's so good.
I will say I've always felt bad for Bray Wyatt with the way they treated him and his character and just totally destroyed him. But at the same time, I guess we would have never gotten to this point if none of that ever happened. So it was really all for the best because this is the best Bray Wyatt we will ever get.
Yeah, I think I was on record as saying that Bray Wyatt was unsalvageable and a lost cause. Yeah, and now a year later, he is the best thing going by a mile.
Just goes to show you can really never write anyone off.
Yeah, I mean, look at Chad Gable.
Yeah, we're running out of time here, but Chad Gable was he is like the biggest beneficiary of the King of the Ring tournament to me. His match with Andrade was great. He was getting like really, really over with the crowd. He busted my bracket though, so I'm kind of mad about that. But.
He busted my bracket, and so did Elias. Like Elias over Ali. Why?
I know. Corbin over who did he beat?
Cedric Alexander.
That match was awesome.
I think you just mean Alexandra.
No,
is he still Cedric?
He's still got both names. Yeah,
he still has both. But did you guys watch that full match? Like, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Corbin did a great job. That match was awesome.
That was a good match. Ricochet versus Joe was a great match. Cesaro versus Miz was pretty decent too.
Well, hold on, rewind. What about that ending where the referee was like, "Oh, gee, there's never been a double count out like this before, like a double pinfall. Whatever shall I do? I'll tell you later."
I mean, I'll give that a pass because I think more what the ref was like deliberating in kayfabe was like, how is this going to affect the tournament? Because if it was just like a random throwaway match, he would have been like, it's a draw, but like you can't have that in a tournament.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was silly. I mean, I'm looking forward to the triple threat match. I think it'll be awesome.
I do think that doesn't, like, looking at this as if it was like a real competition, like why is it's Corbin, right? Like, why is Corbin getting penalized by having to face two people just because a completely different match ended in a draw?
I don't know, but I feel like he's gonna win.
Man, no, I don't know. I feel like this is so that Ricochet can go on. I don't know.
So who is it on the other side? It's Gable and Elias, right? They're facing for the semi-final.
Yeah.
So
I think it's gonna be Corbin and Gable.
Yeah, so that's interesting. If it is
right.
Corbin, it would have to be Gable.
You know, it's probably gonna be Elias and Corbin because they're the two that are like, I'm gonna be king. No, I'm gonna be king, and they'll probably play some shtick where like they both get to be king of the ring.
Yeah, but they're both bad guys. I don't see the finals being heel versus heel. I think it'll be Ricochet versus, well, then I guess that means that Elias goes to the finals. I don't know. This really kind of just busted it wide open.
I'm sticking with Corbin and Gable. You heard it here first.
The last thing I think we should talk about is the saga of who attacked Roman Reigns. We got confirmation that Eric Rowan, in fact, did do it, and he acted as a rogue agent. Daniel Bryan legitimately didn't know, and now he's kind of gone belligerent. He attacked Daniel Bryan. He attacked Roman. He cut a promo, which I don't know that Eric Rowan has ever cut a promo.
I think that was the first time. So
I think he's just ever solved the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Well, say your goodbyes now, guys. Enjoy Rowan while you can, if you happen to, because now that he's done with Daniel Bryan, chances are we probably won't see him on TV again for a long time.
We'll get to see him get squashed by Roman.
Yeah, we will see that at a Clash of Champions, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, once this whole angle's over, if he's officially split with D-Bry, I mean, what else are they going to do with him?
I will say that being with Daniel Bryan worked wonders for him. It makes him look like a semi-legitimate threat. And I didn't hate the storyline the way some people did. I thought it was dumb, but it was dumb fun.
No, it was just what you said. I mean, it's sometimes wrestling is so dumb that it works, and this is the perfect example of that.
But it wouldn't have worked at all, I don't think, if it wasn't for Daniel Bryan and the way that he sold all of this. He is just such like a master of professional wrestling. It's a privilege to watch that guy work.
It really is. I mean, we're gonna miss him one day.
Yeah, this is all just borrowed time. I had already made peace with the fact that he was never coming back, so this is all just gravy to me.
All right. I think we covered it all.
Yeah, that was a lot of wrestling for 1 week to go over.
One last thing before we head out. Good news for those of you that were sad that Moxley and Omega didn't wrestle at All Out. AEW has officially rescheduled it for their second ever pay-per-view. So they're going to be wrestling at Full Gear, which is a pretty dumb name, I have to say. Sorry, guys. But that's going to be... tickets go on sale this Friday, September 6th at noon Eastern Time. And it's going to be November 9th in Baltimore, Maryland. So, got to wait about 2 months here.
Yeah, Full Gear. Their first non-gambling related pay-per-view name.
I mean, it's no Great Balls of Fire, but
It just reminds me of what was the WWE like car related pay-per-view?
Oh,
Over the Limit.
yes. Where it would do the vroom and then show the speedometer
Yeah, and there were like sports cars on like the rampway.
for reasons no one understands.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, well, I can't think of a better place to end the show than that. So we're gonna get out of here. But thanks for listening, guys. We, as always, really appreciate it. If you could leave us a 5-star review and share the show with your friends, it helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate it. If you want to get on the show, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us ptw@aiptcomics.com. That's ptw@aiptcomics.com. We're also looking for writers right now who want to talk and write about wrestling. So if you have opinions on WWE, Impact, New Japan, AEW, Ring of Honor, or the Indies, and you want to share your thoughts, we'd love to have you on the team. So you can go to aiptcomics.com and you'll find more information there on how you can join the team. You can follow us on Twitter, where we're tweeting out different articles that we're writing about wrestling that you can also find on aiptcomics.com with a whole lot of other nerdy stuff like comic books and video games. But yeah, we tweet most Raw, SmackDown, NXTs, and pay-per-views. We'll definitely be tweeting AEW's TNT show when that starts. So you can find us at AIPT Wrestling. That's at AIPT Wrestling. And that's the end of my spiel. So as always, I will leave you with wrestling rules, fuck the world, and party hard.
See you in hell! Let me in. Bye! See you later!
We're really glad that you're our friend, and this is a friendship that